Science fiction has captivated us for centuries. As humans, our curious minds are prone to daydreaming, to the tune of 23 per hour on average. Reading a great book can transport us to fantastic worlds, take us to the future, travel on a starship across the galaxy, or a multitude of other visionary stimulus that can set your mind free from the bonds of our normal lives. In this video, we're going to look at 5 early works of science fiction, pre-1950s, and how they influenced the genre to what it is today. Many consider Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, originally published in 1818, to be the first ever work of science fiction. However, 184 years prior to this, in 1634, a novel was published called Somnium, which gave a detailed, imaginative description of how the Earth might look when viewed from the moon, and is considered the first serious scientific treatise on lunar astronomy. Carl Sagan and Isaac Asimov have referred to it as one of the earliest works of science fiction. The literary genre of science fiction is diverse, and its exact definition remains a contested question among both scholars and devotees. When looking at its exact origins, there are 2 broad camps of thought. One that identifies the genre's roots in early fantastical works, such as the Sumerians' Epic of Gilgamesh, which was written in 2000 BC. And the other, which argues that science fiction only became possible sometime between the 17th and early 19th century, following the scientific revolution and major discoveries in astronomy, physics, and mathematics. The 20th century saw the growth and development of science fiction as people became more interested in literature that examined the interrelationships between technology, society, and the people. The history of science fiction is the history of humanity's changing attitudes towards space and time, the history of our growing understanding of the universe, and the place of our species in that universe. The genre has evolved over the past few decades and solidified its position as a significant impact on world culture and ideas. In 1905, Edgar Rice Burrows began working on one of the most important science fiction novels of all time. It was so fascinating that it influenced many of the best authors of the 20th century, including Arthur C. Clarke. Carl Sagan has also mentioned that he first read the book as a boy and loved it. This highly imaginative book follows the story of an Earthman called John Carter, who mysteriously gets teleported to Mars. There, he is taken on an amazing adventure, getting intertwined with a tribe of big green aliens, to which he moves up the ranks and becomes a respected member of their clan. Subsequently, Carter becomes embroiled in the political affairs of both the Red and Green Martians in his efforts to safeguard Dejah Thoris, the Princess of Mars, eventually leading the tribe of warlike aliens against the city-state of Z'Dunga, the historic enemy of helium. To write a story of this magnitude in 1905 is truly astounding. "20,000 Leagues Under the Seas" is an absolute classic science fiction adventure. Written in 1870 by Jules Verne, the story is set in 1866, during which ships of various nationalities sight a giant mysterious sea monster. An expedition is assembled by the US government to find and destroy the creature, which ends up spanning across months. The search comes to an end off the coast of Japan when one of the ships finds and attacks the monster, damaging only the ship's rudder, and throwing 2 shipmates overboard. They survive by climbing onto the monster, but only to find out that the monster is in fact a state-of-the-art futuristic submarine. The rest of the novel describes the protagonist's adventures aboard the Nautilus, which was built in secrecy and now roams the seas beyond the reach of land-based governments. In self-imposed exile, Captain Nemo seems to have a dual motive: a quest for scientific knowledge and a desire to escape terrestrial civilization. If you've ever wondered who coined the term time machine, it was an author called H.G. Wells. In 1895, Wells released a post-apocalyptic science fiction novella that became the pinnacle of the genre. The term time machine, which Wells based the whole story around, is almost universally used to refer to a vehicle or device with the ability to move purposely forward and backwards through time. Utilising a frame story set in then-present Victoria, England, Wells's text focuses on a recount of the otherwise anonymous time traveller's journey into the far future. A work of future history and speculative evolution, Time Machine is interpreted in modern times as a commentary on the increasing inequality and class divisions of Wells's era, which he projects as giving rise to 2 separate human species, the fair, childlike Eloi and the savage simian Morlocks, distant descendants of the contemporary upper and lower classes respectively. It is believed that Wells's depiction of the Eloi as a race living in plenitude and abandon was inspired by the utopic romantic novel News from Nowhere in 1890, though Wells's universe in the novel is notably more savage and brutal. This is a must-have for any sci-fi lover's collection, as it is considered one of the first novels to explore dystopia. We introduces readers to a unified world government called the One State, demanding conformity of its citizens who live in a nation constructed almost entirely of glass, which assists mass surveillance, where the citizens have numbers instead of names. A few hundred years after the One State has conquered the world, they build a spaceship called Integral, with a plan to invade and take over other extraterrestrial planets. The story also follows the life of the project's chief engineer named D503, who, like all citizens, live in a glass apartment building under the careful watch of the Bureau of Guardians, the secret police. D503's lover, 090, has been assigned by One State to visit him on certain nights. She is considered too short to bear children and is deeply grieved by her state in life. 090's other lover and D503's best friend is R13, a state poet who reads his verse at public executions. While on an assigned walk with 090, D503 meets a woman named I330. I330 smokes cigarettes, drinks alcohol, and shamelessly flirts with D503 instead of applying for her impersonal sex visit. All of these are highly illegal according to the laws of the One State. It's a novel that was well ahead of its time, but still competes with the best of them in modern sci-fi works. "1984" by George Orwell is so influential that everyone knows it, even if they haven't read it. Orwell's masterful dystopian novel introduced plenty of new words and phrases into the English lexicon, including Big Brother, doublethink, newspeak, and thought crime, and may have predicted the rise of smartphone data collection. Although We predates Orwell's novel by a quarter of a century, 1984 created a blueprint for dystopian fiction that's still used today. Published in 1949, it centres on the consequences of totalitarianism, mass surveillance, and repressive regimentation of people and behaviours within society. Orwell, a democratic socialist, modelled the authoritarian state in the novel on Stalinist Russia and Nazi Germany. More broadly, the novel examines the role of truth and facts within societies and the ways in which they can be manipulated. The story takes place in an imagined future in an unknown year believed to be 1984, when much of the world is in perpetual war. Great Britain, now known as Airstrip 1, has become a province of the totalitarian superstate Oceania, which is led by Big Brother, a dictatorial leader supported by an intense cult of personality manufactured by the party's thought police. Through the Ministry of Truth, the party engages in omnipresent government surveillance, historical negationism, and constant propaganda to persecute individuality and independent thinking.